The American Psychological Association is wrapping up its annual convention in San Francisco today. This year, many of the symposiums and discussions centered around President Trump. KPIX5's Phil Mateer asked Chronicle reporter Joe Garofoli and former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, is President Trump driving some Americans crazy?
Well, good morning. And joining us is the Chronicle political reporter Joe Garofoli and the inimitable Willie L. Brown. In case you haven't noticed, there are a whole lot of psychologists in San Francisco this week for a convention. And Joe, as you reported in the Chronicle, there were several courses on how to deal with the Trump phenomenon?
There were 15 sessions devoted to Trump in some way. How Trump is affecting how we deal with immigrants, how Trump is affecting how we deal with our lives, how the Trump hashtag Make America Great is affecting us. And there is some truth to this. There was a survey that said, what are the greatest stressors in your life? More Americans said the changing political system is affecting their lives more than like their family or their health situation. So Trump is making us a little...
That just shows you how unobservant people in the world of psychology really are. This has been going on for years and years and years. Trump has been doing the same thing for the last 30, 40 years. You go back, you pull up the frames of him when his hair was a different color, when he had a different shape in his jaws, etc., and you get the same message. This guy is totally and completely consistent.
President then. So the question is, are we going crazy because of him, or is he there because we're going crazy?
Well, first and foremost, he did not know he wasn't president then, so don't disturb his psyche. Don't disturb him. He thought he was. The confirmation occurred in 2016 when the election took place. And now, all the things that had been stored up that nobody paid attention to, he's afforded them the opportunity.
Joe, do the psychologists have any tips for how to deal with the Trump stress phenomenon?
They said meet it with empathy. Try and reach out to someone who is different than you. And it's easier to do one-on-one. They're suggesting, maybe call up a conservative friend. Maybe call up a conservative friend and reach out to them and try and connect with them on some of the issues where you share commonality.
Which means, don't you be offended when the telephone gets hung up.
Well, that is one way to cope with today's stress. And we'll have more coming up. Back to you guys.
I think it's interesting, and there's sort of that question. I don't know that you can necessarily blame it on one man, but you also have to realize that society has changed. Social media has changed, right? As he came into this presidency, we had Russian interference via social media. There's trolls on social media, mind games that sort of perpetuate this anxiety.
Right. There's an uncertainty that was already sort of happening among institutions, including institutions like the family. And it seems to me it's not just necessarily the underlying policies, but the unpredictability that I think some people perceive. They'd really like to be able to predict what their leaders are going to do, and it's really hard to do, and that may be leading to some of the anxiety that folks are picking up on there. Now, ahead of this year's midterm elections, it seems there's a robust effort to push the Democratic Party further to the left. Phil Mateer asked Chronicle reporter Joe Garofoli and former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, what is the role of these so-called Berniecrats in the Democratic Party?
Mayor Brown, what is up with the Democratic Party? The big surge to the left, but it doesn't come through in the primaries, but the Berniecrats are still burning strong.
It's really a horrible experience running for public offices these days for true believers on the Democratic side of the aisle, because they are without credibility on almost every issue for a whole group of people, a very strange group of people. They call themselves Democratic Socialists. What the hell is that?
I'll tell you, these Democratic Socialists, though, they are bringing a lot of people to the party. I was at the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez when she came to the Mission District the other day. I've not seen a crowd that lit in a long time. Full of
yes, you have.
Young people and people of color who the Democrats need.
Let me tell you, yes, you have. Trump brings the same kind of people,
well, they need to
except
match
on the other side of the aisle.
They need to match the energy.
Okay, but the question is, everybody talks energy, everybody talks buzz, but who has the votes? And does it help the Democrats that they have this energy and buzz?
Well, they are losing the races, though. These candidates that the Bernie people are putting up, they're losing a lot of the races.
Okay, so is it a media phenomenon or is it real?
Except, let me tell you, we've got to, as Democrats now, from that perspective, we've got to be practical. We really do have to do a supply and demand as we pursue the votes. If we had done that in Ohio, it would be the Republicans looking up not us. We would already be
Back-
up there.
But back in the day, you were part of, like, when you were working with Jesse Jackson, when you were working with McGovern, didn't they say the same thing to you? You guys are too far left. You're dragging the party down. What do you say to them? You've been in that position before you became the man.
Well, I don't think I've ever been accused of too left. Let's start with
Well,
that.
compared to the rest of the party.
But keep in mind that an individual like Gavin Newsom, who said in 2004, let anybody marry whomever they wish, period. Barack Obama, running for the U.S. Senate from Illinois, said, be very careful.
Yes.
Don't let me have a photograph with this cat. It'll cost me the election.
Yeah.
So there's a practicality that visits itself upon candidates.
That is so interesting. I had no idea. So you learn something new every day when you hear from Willie there. So my question for you is this idea of Berniecrats, the sort of far left section of the Democratic Party, that's not new, right?
No, it isn't. Basically, since the beginning of the Democratic Party, there's always this tension between the sort of more moderate folks and folks on the left. For example, President Bill Clinton was opposed mightily by a number of people on the left in the Democratic Party back in the 90s when he was running for president. So this isn't necessarily new, although the use of the word socialist is something that has not really been something people have been willing to touch for a very long time. We'll say that.